flower fam, welcome back to the garden. Now I know I've been totally hyping up this video for at least a few weeks now, well more like a month, but welcome to the 2021 Daffodil Tour. Yes, awesome. You'll remember last season I planted tons and tons of daffodils. I think there was a total of about 1,500 daffodils that we planted, with the help of you guys, of course. But I hadn't told you what varieties that I had been planting, and I'd been kind of keeping a secret that it was really a daffodil trial. So rather than get a bunch of just one kind of daffodil, I got a very small number of a bunch of different types of daffodil. So the result this spring was waiting for all of them to bloom, early, middle, and late season daffodils, waiting for them all to bloom and filming them so that I could share them with you. And man oh man, let's just say the results were ridiculous. Never in a million years would I have ever imagined that I would grow to love daffodils this much. Before we get started with this video, I really wanted to take a second to give a huge thanks to our sponsor. Our sponsor for this video is the book FLOWERSCAPE by Maggie Interios. It is a botanical coloring book. This book features over 40 different floral designs that focus on just really beautiful floral artwork. I'm always so amazed at people who are so talented to be able to do this kind of work. There are a wide range of composition types. There's, different pages with hidden wildlife or geometric patterns, and a lot of blank space for you to kind of add your own bit of flair and do your own thing. The paper is also wood-free, and it holds up to a wide range of mediums like colored pencils and even watercolor, which is something that I've always really wanted to try. To go along here with our daffodil video, the wonderful people at Page Street Publishing went ahead and sent me a downloadable copy of their daffodil page for you guys to download. I am so incredibly thankful that they helped me out with this video. This video was a very, very long one to make. I've been working on it for about 2 months now. So to have the extra added support here really, really made a difference in me being able to continue to bring you guys the content that I make. So be sure to head over there and give them some love as well. So getting right on into this daffodil tour, first up we have the Cassata Daffodil. These are the Cassata. They open up a beautiful bright yellow as you saw in the picture, but they are a split corona cup. This is actually one of the first split coronas that I've ever grown before, and they actually turn a really, really beautiful pale kind of pastel yellow. A lot of these daffodils also seem to do that as well. They'll open one color, and over time, the days they've been in the garden, they'll fade a little bit, which is pretty interesting and unexpected. The next one is Isha Follies. This is another one of the very, very early season daffodils that I grew this year. As you can see, it's just a regular kind of open cup daffodil. That cup is kind of pushed back just a little bit. And much like the Cassata, they open a very, very bright yellow. And as they begin to fade and age, that bright yellow turns into more of a whitish cream color, which is also very, very pretty. The next one is a sport of the Ice Follies. This one is called Ice King, and as you can see, it's very, very similar to the Ice Follies, except for instead of just a regular cup, we have that beautiful double cup. And the coloration for these is much the same as the Ice Follies. You can see they open very, very bright yellow, and over time they kind of fade to more of a white color that's very pretty. Also really like this one for cut flowers because the stems are nice and strong, and you can see the flower head is held up nice and high so you can see that beautiful bloom. Also a very, very pretty choice in our landscape as well, because some of these do have kind of better characteristics for landscape or for cut flower use. So I did try to get pictures of all of these different daffodils from a variety of different angles, but sometimes it was a little bit hard. Moving right along here in the garden with this daffodil trial. This one is called Orangery. This one is a split corona. It's much like the Cassata, but this one is obviously orange, as the name would imply, and it has these very pushed back, very, very bright orange petals that do fade a little bit over time. Still a very nice addition to the cut flower garden. I used this one in a couple arrangements and I really, really liked it. We have this one called Altruist. That's what it was labeled. However, I do believe that this one is actually Barrett Browning. Doing some research online, Altruist seems to be a yellow, kind of pastel yellow daffodil, and these were never yellow at any point. These were bright white with that very pretty orange center. So I think this one is actually a case of mislabeled, mistaken identity. I believe this one is Barrett Browning. What do you think? Tell me in the comments below if you have any experience with Barrett Browning. Very pretty, nonetheless. I feel like I'm repeating myself saying, very pretty, very pretty, very pretty. You're going to hear that a lot. So hopefully you don't mind. The next one is February Gold. I just had a few of these. These are very, very early, and as you can see, they're just a simple yellow daffodil that is very, very pretty. The cups are a little bit more slender, I guess I would describe this, and the blooms are definitely a bit smaller than your normal traditional daffodil. I think they more resemble kind of the wild daffodils that you see growing on roadsides. So very nice. Not really my favorite, my absolute favorite, but probably a really good choice for things like naturalizing. This one is called Avalanche. This one is teeny tiny and so unique, and it easily became one of my absolute favorites in the garden, I think, this year. I didn't have very many. I only had about 10 bulbs, but look how teeny tiny these flowers are. Each stem had about 5 to 8 flowers, and they were just so stinking adorable. The white outer petals in that teeny tiny little yellow cup. Oh man, definitely one of my favorites, easily making my top 10 in the garden this year. Just so stinking cute. I just can't stand it. It's so cute. Our next daffodil that we are going to take a look at here in the garden, this next one is called Can Girl, and it is yet again another one of my absolute favorites. Going into the garden this season, I knew that I was really excited to grow this one, but this one has definitely exceeded my expectations in almost every single way. You can see the flowers. They are held on just nice strong stems. They are facing up. They are beautiful, and there are tons of them. There are multitudes of flowers with each bulb. And the inner cup is just this beautiful, weird, frilly, looks like a Can Girl's skirt fluffing around. These petals are absolutely gorgeous. And even though I expected the petals to be really soft, they're actually really tough and kind of robust. And they kept in the garden for a very, very long time. These looked great for weeks on end, even with rain and everything like that. They were excellent cut flowers. I didn't notice any kind of fragrance or anything, unfortunately, but there are just so many good attributes with this. Moving on, our next flower that we're looking at, this one is called Geranium. This one actually bloomed fairly early in the garden, but I think the most notable thing about geranium is the fragrance. The fragrance of these flowers was absolutely enchanting. It was so gorgeous. As you can see, the flowers make usually about 2 to 3 flowers on each stem. They are kind of simple looking with just the white and the orange in the center, but like the Can Girl, they produced so many flowers. I cannot even begin to explain. It seems like they were producing flowers for weeks. So they were definitely a very welcome addition to our collection this year. Next up, we have another one of my favorites. This one is called Acropolis. As you can see, the Acropolis were a little bit more difficult to film because their heads do nod down a little bit, but that might just be because the flower heads are so enormous. They are so big and beautiful. Unlike a lot of the varieties that I've already shown, these are just a big, crisp, white double flower, and you can see a little bit of that orange there in the center, just fluffy and double. I'm not sure if these were fragrant. These were planted next to the geranium, so it might have just been the geranium, but these might also be fragrant, so don't quote me on that. They definitely look stunning in cut flower arrangements. I did a couple cut flower arrangements with these as well. This is definitely one that I want to add more of in the future. I was really surprised by how large the flowers actually were, so that's definitely an added bonus. So moving right along, are you still with us? Are you watching still? This one is called Sunny Girlfriend. This is one of the ones that I was actually most excited about last fall. This one is a very, very pretty peach color. This is also a split corona, but unlike some of those other split corona cups that we've showed already, this one is very ruffly, which gives it a very nice full appearance that I was not expecting. Also, the color opens up to a very, very pretty kind of peach coral salmon color. It does fade a little bit over time, but not too much that I've noticed. And I noticed that anytime I use these in a vase, they seem to like glow and just grab my attention no matter what. So it's definitely one of those flowers that I would consider like a showstopper. Our next one is called Peach Cobbler. I realize we're going a little bit fast, but we've got a lot of daffodils to get through. Peach Cobbler was very strong on the plant. The stems were very strong. The blooms were enormous. They opened up a very pretty kind of ivory yellow color with a dark orange center. Over time, the ivory yellow got a little bit more white and the orange center got a little bit more yellowish, but you can still see kind of the dimension in there. Very, very pretty double daffodil. Definitely worth growing in my opinion. I was very surprised by how many blooms this plant was able to produce. Absolutely gorgeous. Next we have Pink Wonder. This is one that I've grown before. I actually grew this one for the first time last year, and this is kind of my gateway to fancy daffodils. Just a beautiful, soft, very, very light pink color. No fading that I've noticed with the Pink Wonder daffodils. This is just the color they open and the color I get whenever they grow here in my yard, and they are gorgeous. They're just so romantic looking, especially you know, pairing those with different kinds of tulips or even some ranunculus if you can get that bloom timing down right. Very, very pretty. Moving right along here in the garden, we have even more daffodils to come. There's just so much to absorb here with these beautiful flowers. I can honestly say I wasn't sure, you know, if I would like growing all these different types. This daffodil is called Martha Stewart. Now, I'm not sure if Martha Stewart bred this one or if we just named it after her or if what's going on. But needless to say, when I saw that very, very pretty pink peach color, I knew that I had to order it and check it out. So I got about 10 bulbs of this. As you can tell, it is a very, very pretty white flower, and we have those deep cups, those big, large trumpet cups, and they are edged with the softest color of pink salmon that I have ever seen, and it is so pretty. And if you go down in the trumpet a little bit more, there's kind of a shade of a deeper yellowish green that is very, very nice. These do fade a little bit in the sun, and I noticed they did kind of tend to hang their heads down a little bit, but that could have been my weather. We had a lot of rain. It'll be interesting to grow these again in the future and see whether or not they behave a little bit differently. So I'm not sure how they'll do for cut flower arrangements, but they look so stinking cute with those Avalanche that I showed you earlier. I just couldn't help. I couldn't resist taking a picture. They are so pretty. Next we have one called Lingerie. I'm just kidding. I love to, you know, mispronounce things. I think it's funny. This one is Lingerie. It is so fancy. These plants, like a lot of the other ones that I've mentioned so far, produced so many blooms that it was absolutely incredible. They just kept blooming and blooming and blooming and blooming. Not only that, the flowers were enormous. The stems were strong. They held their flowers upright so that everyone could see them. They stood up to the rain and wind and everything. Very beautiful, very, very good cut flower. Love it. One of my favorites. All right, this is where it starts to get a little bit confusing here, and I'm not gonna lie. I had to write down notes to make sure I got this part right. Now, this Lingerie daffodil is very, very similar to another daffodil that bloomed in the garden at the exact same time. This one is called Salou. I guess that's how you say it. I'm sorry if I say these wrong. As you can see, they are almost identical. If I wouldn't have planted them in a different part of the garden, I would have got them confused. The only difference that I can tell was Salou did not produce as many flowers, and the flower size overall was a little bit smaller. Now, there's going to be another one next here that you see without a label. It is called Double Star. I'm sorry, I started forgetting the labels as the season progressed just because things got so hectic. This one is called Double Star, and it is a very, very large, very prolific double daffodil. I almost said tulip. Anyway, these plants produced so many flowers, and as you can see, they are very, very similar to the other two that I just showed you. The only difference really is the orange is a little bit darker, and their heads kind of hang down just a little bit just because the flowers are so large and seem to get so heavy. So from left to right, we have Lingerie, Double Star, and Salou. Just for comparison, see the Double Star on the right has a little bit more double color in the middle, while the Lingerie on the left has less color in the middle. Next we have one called Love Call. Love Call was very, very similar to Cassata that I showed you one of the first ones in this video. Actually, Split Cup was a little bit more ruffly and overlapping, which made it look maybe a little bit nicer, and these also held their color very well in the garden. I didn't notice any kind of fading or anything going on with the Love Call daffodils, so something to consider. They also bloomed much, much later than the Cassata, so kind of good for succession planting if that's something that you're looking to achieve. Next we have Dick Wilden or Dick Wilden. I'm not quite sure how to say it, unfortunately, but I have mixed opinions on this. You can see there are ants all over my bloom, so I assume that they are nectar rich, or at least more nectar rich than some of the others. This is a yellow daffodil, but it is double, and it is very double. But the growth habit was not good. These flowers only had about 6-inch stems, and they were all falling face first into the dirt. Now, I'm going to obviously let these overwinter and grow them again to see what happens, to see if the stems get better. But, I mean, look at these big, fluffy, gorgeous, amazing petals. These petals are absolutely insane. They're crazy. I could not get enough of them. I had to put them in this little tiny jam jar. But look at the double fluffy petals. I am a sucker for those double fluffy petals. I hope when they come back next year that they will be much, much taller and will have much, much better things to say about their stem length and their use as a cut flower, because they're very pretty. Moving right along to our next daffodils that we are taking a look at in the garden. We're getting into the fancier ones now, I should say. A lot of these more fancy daffodils bloom later in the season, so as the video kind of progresses, we get into these fancier ones and I get more excited. This one is Art Design. I was immediately drawn to Art Design when I saw it growing online and on Instagram and everything like that. And I saw all these pictures of these big fluffy petals, and when mine bloomed in the garden, they were kind of like, meh, fine. As you can see, it's not the whole flower that's actually double, it's just the cup is double, and the cup is jammed packed full of flower petals. My first kind of blooms that I picked weren't very fluffy, and they weren't very open, but the key apparently was to wait longer until they have been open in the garden, and you start seeing those big, huge, fluffy cups that everybody posts pictures of on the internet. So that's what I did. I waited patiently for them to open just a little bit more, and boom, there they are. There are those big, bright, huge, fluffy cups. They're very much kind of a yellow peachy color, which is very, very pretty. And the inner double flower has those bits of white that just makes it look so textured, almost like carnations. Just very attractive and alluring, I guess. The next flower that we have is called Sailorman. This is actually one of the ones that I was really impressed with when I planted the bulbs. I remember the bulbs were absolutely enormous. And as you can see in the front here, the flowers are standing right up, nice and strong, beautiful for just an ornamental landscape plant, and beautiful for cut flower arrangements as well. It really worked really well. This is technically a split corona one, I think, but what's going on is those split petals are so ruffly and full and just vivacious that they totally look like they could be a double flower or something like that. They are just so fancy and pretty. The flowers are huge. I know I've already said that I'm not really a fan of yellow flowers, but I think this one, I can make an exception for this one because it is very, very pretty. And I will definitely look forward to growing these again here in my little cut flower backyard, my little cut flower garden. Are you guys still watching? Are you guys still watching this? Thank you so much for watching this, by the way. I appreciate you so much. I know that these videos are a little bit longer, but this is really what the algorithm enjoys, so I appreciate you for sticking with me for this long. We've got a lot more beautiful daffodils before the end of this video, so I guess we'll just keep on moving and see what else we have in the garden. You can see a lot of these were blooming at the same time as my tulips and the same time as my anemones, which is really nice. I always like just watching the spring flowers sway in the breeze. It's very relaxing. Moving on to the next daffodil variety that we have. We had a lot of peaches that I was really eager to share with you guys. A lot of the peach pink colors, salmon pink colors. And this one is called Replete. Replete is another one that's also really popular on social media. So I kind of knew what to expect when I grew it. But I'm glad I did because it's very, very pretty in person. And mine were extremely fragrant. I don't know if anybody else has mentioned their fragrance or not, but very, very fragrant, which I am always a fan of. The flower itself is just a very, very crisp white. Those clean white flowers are such a nice contrast to that peachy coral color. When they first open, they're a little bit darker, a darker peach color that you can see here, and then they fade to this kind of lighter pink peach color that is so enchantingly pretty. I cannot begin to explain it. It seems like as soon as you put this kind of flower into a vase, it's like, wow, I am fancy. I know how to garden. I've got it going on. Very, very pretty. Some of my flowers did nod downward a little bit, but it didn't seem like too much of a problem because as you can see here, sitting in the vase, they are holding their head nice and tall. Next up, we have my favorite. This is my absolute favorite of the entire video. So if you don't watch any of the rest of the video, this is as good as it gets in my opinion. This is Flower Surprise. I had almost not ordered Flower Surprise because these bulbs are expensive, or at least I think they're expensive. They're like $1.20 a piece, and I bought 10 bulbs and I was not disappointed. If you're looking to kind of make a fancy garden investment for yourself, I totally recommend this flower bulb. The double petals are amazing. They're absolutely amazing. I have no other words to explain how much I love these. I didn't notice that these were fragrant or anything like that, but the symmetry and the fully double petals, and I don't know. It looks like a big vase of carnations. I cannot say enough good things. I am definitely going to make an investment and buy some more of these bulbs this coming year. Flower Surprise daffodils are truly surprising. Whoever hybridized this variety should just, like, you know, pat yourself on the back. Round of applause. These are great. Thank you so much for doing what you do. After this glowing review of my opinion of the Flower Surprise daffodils, a lot of you guys are like, probably like, well, why should I even watch the rest of the video? Don't worry. I mean, this is my favorite, but there are some really cool ones still to come. So keep watching, please. Another pink one we have is called Pink Charm. This is very pretty as well. It is just a solid white flower, and of course when we look at the cup, it has that very, very pretty peachy coral pink cup that so many people absolutely love, and it has it around the edging there, and the inside is white, which differs from the ones that were more like yellow and everything. Very, very pretty. They open up a darker pink color and they do fade somewhat, so if you leave them in the garden long enough, they will be kind of like a very, very pastel pink with a white center. They held their stems very, very strong. Just a beautiful collection of daffodils. I am so thankful that you guys encouraged me to give more of these fancy daffodils a try. I wasn't sure if I was going to do this daffodil trial, but I'm so glad that you guys urged me to do it because it has been such an eye-opening experience. I had no clue that there were so many just beautiful varieties of daffodil. Next, we have a very popular one called Bridal Crown. Bridal Crown is a double white daffodil, and has multiple flowers per stems. On my stem, it had about 2 to 4 flowers on each stem. They remind me of little pieces of popcorn, and am I the only one? It reminds me of like popcorn popped up. These flowers are very fragrant and very double. The fragrance is insane. I had so much, it smelled beautiful in my yard when I was picking these. I only had 10 bulbs of these as well, so there's not a ton of flowers. I'm sure if I made a larger planting, it would look better in the pictures or whatnot, but I think these are definitely a showstopper flower. You can see why these are so popular. I just love how crisp and clean they are, and the fact that they're so double and small and petite like that. It just adds a bit of really, really interesting texture to flower arrangements and everything. So I think this one is definitely a winner that I would like to keep growing in the future. Moving on, we have some more of our peachy kind of pink colored daffodils to take a look at. And this one is called British Gamble. Now, there is nothing gambling about this. These flowers are huge. Like, you know how I said the other flowers were big? These flowers were bigger than the palm of my hand. These are hands down the biggest daffodils that I've ever seen anywhere ever. Just like the Martha Stewart, they have that white, and they have that cup that is very, very kind of pink and yellow. However, this cup is huge. This trumpet of this flower is enormous. They are a little bit lighter than the Martha Stewart. The pink is a little bit lighter. These did not change color in my garden very much. This pink started out pink and remained pretty much pink, this light pastel pink that is so pretty. And they have that yellow kind of throat inside the cup. The yellow throat did kind of blend to white over time, but for the most part, I think the true, the true look of these depends greatly on how enormous they are. The next variety I have to show you is called Candy Princess. This one I bought on a whim because one of the other ones I wanted was out of stock, but I'm so glad I did because it has these double cups, and as you can see, there's those little frilly white bits inside the double cups. It gives it a little bit more kind of dimension and texture. But the cups are so pretty because they are these shades of coral and orange, and they kind of have like an ombre effect that is like amazing. I tried my best to kind of zoom in there and show you the different colors, the peach and the orange kind of fading together. These look amazing. These look really, really great. And as they age in the garden, they just open up more and more and become more double. Definitely a very welcome addition to the cut flower patch. Definitely one that I would continue to grow in the future. We're getting closer towards the end here with a lot of these flowers. I know this has kind of been a quick video. I had to kind of rush through these. This one is called Tahiti. It is very much just a normal kind of yellow double daffodil. I know it's not as flashy as some of the other ones, but it did have tons of really good positive attributes. They opened up a very kind of bright yellow with a bright orange center, and over time, as the flowers continue to age and fade and everything like that, they get a little bit more of a pastel yellow, and when those orange centers begin to open up, they really are quite beautiful, which was surprising because, you know, yellow and orange, it can sometimes be a harsh combination, but it was very, very pretty, and I definitely will keep this one growing in my garden in the future. Keeping going with our tour of the daffodil patch here in the yard, we have another kind of coral peachy one that is starting to come into bloom at this point in the video, and you can see it's much darker than some of the other kind of coral peachy colors. This one is called Precocious. I'm not sure of the exact classification of this one, but you can see it opens up a very kind of dark pink peach color. I was actually surprised by this since so many of the other ones opened up much lighter, so I was interested to see how this color would fade and change over time. And it turned into a very, very beautiful kind of light pink color. It's very reminiscent of the Pink Wonder daffodil, but maybe just a little bit darker. And those cups kind of opened up and flattened themselves back. We also grew some cyclaminius mix that you see here. Moving right along behind that, though, what I really, really want to show you guys is one called Prosecco The Prosecco Daffodil is a jonquil, I believe. Don't quote me on that, of course. I'm just going from my memory here. It's a very kind of creamy peach color, and usually about 2 to 3 flowers on each stem. They were a little bit more difficult to harvest just because the stems were so small, but very, very beautiful nonetheless. You can see that the lighter ones have been open longer and the darker ones have been open just a little bit less time, so the colors did change quite a bit with that flower. Looking back in the garden again with things that we have growing, we had a lot of very, very late season kind of peachy coral colors coming into bloom. This one is called Pink Champagne. Very, very pretty, very similar to the Replete that I had already showed you, but very good attributes as well. Some of them did nod their heads a little bit lower than I would have liked. Also, we have Mallee or Mallee, I'm not quite sure how to say it, which was very, very pretty. A peach split corona. You see the peach outer petals with that yellow coloring in the center there. This one held its head very, very high, and it was gorgeous. Easily, again, one of my top 10 favorites. It seems like every time you put this one in the vase, it was stealing the attention of everything. It was just grabbing the attention with that unique color contrast in the center there. Very pretty. Would definitely increase my stock of those if I had the choice to in the future. Moving right along, we see this one is Sir Winston Churchill. This is actually a sport of geranium. It is a double version of geranium, and just like geranium, it is very, very fragrant and very, very beautiful. I only had a few of these bulbs, unfortunately, and a lot of my footage was actually ruined because of a rainstorm. Just made everything look not so great, so hopefully these images will give you a good idea. This one is called Stainless. This is another one that had quite a bit of trouble in the rain, unfortunately, but a very, very beautiful, pure white color that I was not expecting to love so much in the garden. Very, very nice. Definitely want to keep growing this one. Did have a bit of problem with nodding heads on this one, but overall I think it's maybe nothing that we can't handle and can't accomplish. Next we have Gay Tabor. This is a double daffodil. This is a white double daffodil. These open up nice and big. They are very similar to Acropolis, but much later in the season, and just a little bit more orange was prevalent. I did like how fully double these were when they were open. This one is called Isha or Isha. I'm not quite sure how to say it. It's very similar to Tahiti that we've already saw, but the yellow was just a little bit darker, and I kind of liked it more, I think, and the orange was a little bit more prevalent, which was really, really nice. So definitely a good late season yellow orange. Right here we have Nightcap. This was another one of my favorites. You can tell we're kind of ending the home stretch here of the daffodil tour. Very, very pretty open cups, and that beautiful kind of red-pink ridge around the outside of that trumpet. A lot of them knotted down. I'm going to give it another season to see how it works out, because those are just so gorgeous. You know, I always hate to write off varieties because they're not exactly behaving in the manner that I would have liked. This is called Extravaganza. This Extravaganza daffodil was much darker than I had anticipated. Unlike some of the other kind of peachy coral ones, this one has very much an orange tone, which was unexpected. But as we see the orange quickly began to fade, just like some of the other ones that we have encountered in the garden. So really, no big deal if you're looking for kind of peachy colors. Almost finished, we have Yazz. This is Yazz. This is a jonquil. As you can see, it opens up bright yellow and fades to this beautiful kind of peachy tone. So those yellow colors are a little bit deceiving when they first open up, and we end up with these beautiful ivory and peaches. These are multiple flowers on multiple stems, on each stem rather. Very, very pretty. Unfortunately, I didn't notice any kind of fragrance or anything like that, but I did love the color combinations with other late season daffodils. And last but certainly not least in this video, we have Blushing Lady. Blushing Lady is another jonquil, and you can see the yellow outer petals are this soft pastel. It is absolutely gorgeous. and those soft, delicate inner peach cups. I just can't get enough of these. I am so glad that you guys convinced me to do this daffodil trial. Thank you so much for encouraging me to do this. And that's about it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I am so appreciative. I really am. As always, be sure to leave a comment down below. I love to know what you guys think. Was it helpful? What experiences do you have? I'm always learning from the comments, which I really love. As always, if you're not a subscriber and you like this video, be sure to hit the little subscribe button, hit the little bell. The bell tells you whenever we make new videos. It's a great way to keep up with the channel and grow just our little gardening community here. As always, all the links to everything is down in the description below. Our link to Patreon and our YouTube memberships is there. It helps support the channel. It helps me pay for things like blog fees, and occasionally I get help with editing, which is really helpful because let's face it, I am not the most tech savvy person on the planet. But I am trying to keep learning and keep making our videos better. There's also a link to the blog. Oftentimes you can check out the blog and there would be more information and more pictures about the thing that I've talked about in the video, just because sometimes it helps for me to write down that information and kind of organize it much better. As always, feel free to share this video with a friend. It helps us so much when we grow the channel. I hope that you're having such an incredible day, and I will talk to y'all later. Bye, guys.